as soon as I showed him, he's like, yeah, we're taking that. That's, I think that's cancer. When the doctor did tell me that this was from my younger years, he said, Mike, this is gonna be, and we'll explain that I've done the chemo twice now. This is gonna be one of many to come. So this isn't just it. And
so you're saying if you see a squamous cancer cell somewhere on your body, it likely means that more are coming.
It's got a lot more cousins coming. Yeah. So I'll explain what I did to be proactive, which was pretty gnarly.
Well, Mike, this week's episode is on cancer, and not just any cancer, skin cancer. And it's a very personal thing for you right now. Do you want to fill the audience in on what's going on?
Yeah. So everybody, I was diagnosed with skin cancer a couple of weeks ago, and you can maybe see Nick does a beautiful job with the lighting, but you know, I got a couple spots and took care of them, and then me and my doctor, Dr. Craig Kornreich, phenomenal dermatologist, will get into him.
Yeah, it's a big wake-up call for people.
Yeah.
I think it's not just you who is dealing with this. You know, this is a cancer that is very, very common among people. And for anybody who's gotten more than 5 sunburns in their lifetime, their chance of getting skin cancer, I think it doubles. And I'm pretty sure everybody I know has gotten more than 5 sunburns in their lifetime.
Yeah.
Couple hours out in the sun, you didn't realize it was going to be sunny. You're with some friends, you're on a hike, you're walking around. I mean, you just outside, not even doing much, and you can get a quick sunburn.
No, it's crazy. I mean, I have some bad ones when I was a young kid, you know, even as an adult.
More people are diagnosed with skin cancer each year than all other cancers combined.
That I did not know until we did the notes before this.
Crazy. I mean, that is a staggering statistic and very scary.
Yeah, I know colon cancer is really climbing, but I didn't know that skin cancer had moved past it.
The thing that is helpful for people is that even just putting on like an SPF 15 moisturizer on your face every day when you're going to be out in the sun, that can dramatically drop the chances of you getting skin cancer on your face, obviously. That's a really powerful tool to have in your tool belt in fighting against this type of cancer. So I think that's important too.
Yeah, you know, it's funny though, you know, there's been this big push in the last 8 years or so to get plenty of sunlight for vitamin D. And it's like, you don't know which one to do sometimes. Even the guy, Mike Lynch, in the business for 30 years. And what I used to do, Nick, was for at least the last 10 years, once we really started to know the importance of vitamin D, which is actually not a vitamin, it's actually a hormone. But we get it from the sun. When you slather sunblock on, you don't get the vitamin D from the sun. It blocks that. So what I was doing in the last 8 years or so, 10 years, is I was getting about 15 to 20 minutes unprotected when I go to the beach, and then I would put the sunblock on. But according to my dermatologist and some of the reading I've done now, is all the stuff that I'm dealing with now is from my childhood and my young 20s. Because I said to him, I said, hey, doc, you know, I've been doing block and everything. He goes, Mike, the sun exposure you're getting now and a couple of years ago, if you live until 75, 80, those lesions are going to pop up then from now. So all the shit that you're dealing with is when you were a kid riding your bike and, you know, in your 20s when, you know, you think you're bulletproof and stuff like that. So don't drive yourself crazy.
In the 80s when we were young, I would put sunscreen on when I went to the beach all day, but not when I was just out riding my bike all day or playing kickball or whatever I was doing. So, I mean, there were just summers where I was out and about every day, all day, tank top, no shirt, whatever it was, just out there living life, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. And, you know, credit, my mom's going to love you. Credit to my mom. My mom is a tough woman. She breaks my chops on quite a bit of things, but one of the things that she was real adamant about, especially once I became a landscaper, because when I got out of high school, I became a landscaper first. I started a business, and she used to yell at me all the time about sunblock. And, you know, I wanted to be tan. I started lifting weights, and I did the tanning beds, you know, back in the day. That was in style. I don't know if people still do that shit. I
still see them out there. I mean, who is out there that doesn't realize that tanning beds are probably really unsafe for you?
It's really bad.
people need to be motivated to avoid these type of cancers. And it's hard to be motivated by something that might happen in 20 or 30 years. But 90% of visual aging comes from sun exposure. So just on a vanity level, you are going to age quicker if you're out in the sun all the time without this protection. So that could be a reason why some people say, oh, hold on a second. Maybe I will use a 15 SPF every day, a moisturizer on my face or on my arms or whatever it is, because I don't want to look 50 when I'm 30 or 60 when I'm 40 or whatever it is.
Yeah. And that's the bare bones. Everything I've read, Nick, is like try to get 30 and above, you know? And I read this one article, and to get the full like power of a 30 block, they want you to put like a thick layer on. So they have up to 100 blocks now.
I'm pretty sure that SPF, like somewhere between 30 and 50, gives you a very high level of protection. And then once you start going up by 10, 20, 30 SPF, it's giving you like another 1%. It's just a very slight increase in the amount of protection you get.
Right. But what I did read was when you look at those 30 and 35, you're absolutely correct. But that when you look into the research, they want you to put for like your upper body, they want you to put a full shot glass worth the amount of sunblock. So by getting that 1%, no one's putting on that much sunblock. It'd be forever to put it in.
Yeah.
So what I read was by going to that higher, those 80s and 100s, because most people are just going to put a thin layer on, right? Because some of those thick ones, you got to really rub them in.
Yeah.
You do get extra protection from them because no one's putting the amount on the 30 and the 35 to get that full 30, 35 protection. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're putting a thin layer on it. No one wants to look like a Casper the Ghost at the beach, you know? So, and there's different types of sunblocks too. You have to watch with some of these sunblocks.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I think I have some of that later in the outline.
Okay. Yeah, because some of the stuff that could be in there could just be as worse as sun, supposedly. So.
And just so people know also, just because it's cloudy, just because it's overcast, does not mean you are safe to go out without that sunblock. You're still getting, I think it's 80% of the UV rays coming through those clouds and, you know, affecting your body. So just because you don't feel the sun rays does not mean you are in the clear.
You're absolutely correct, Nick, because some of the worst burns I've ever gotten have been on the overcast days. And one other thing to mention, anybody that likes to have cocktails at the beach, one of the things that can really make you get super burnt is limes. If someone's mixing a tequila with some lime or a vodka and club soda with limes, actually, people that work in lime farms, they have to wear special gloves and shit because you get what's called phototoxicity. Okay, something with the lime, the ingestion of lime. There's certain supplements too, like St. John's.
Oh, it's not just the lime on your skin. You're saying if you're ingesting lime.
Yeah, dude. I went one time to the beach and it was overcast and I was having a few extra and I was squeezing limes. Let me tell you something, Nick. I couldn't move for days. And I was like, why the did I get so sunburned today? And then I researched or I read something that led me to something, and limes can give you phototoxicity. So if it gets on your skin, these people that work on the lime farms will actually get burnt. They have to wear protective clothing. But for me, man, as I ingested it, like I don't know if anybody even takes this anymore. There was a herb, St. John's wort, that was for depression. It was like a low, if you don't want to go on an antidepressant. And it says clearly, do not go in the sun when you use this because it increases what's called phototoxicity, I think is, or photosensitivity or something like that. Yeah. So it can make that burn 5x.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's break down the types of skin cancer that people might encounter if unfortunately they get to this point.
Yeah.
And I believe there are 3 types of skin cancer.
Yeah. Basal, squamous, which I have, and melanoma.
Okay. So what's the first one?
So basal, again, this is for dermatologists to fully explain.
Of course.
But
broad overview.
For the most part, basal cells are going to be just located in whatever area you get them in, and they don't really spread for the most part.
And this is the most common type of skin cancer, I believe.
Yes. And those you still want to, remedy those, but they're 99%, they're not going to take you out.
Right. They're slow growing
Yes.
and they're not going to spread as easily,
Right.
but they can still be destructive if they're left untreated.
Yes. But for the most part, everything that I've read, that you'll die from something, but not that. But you should still take care of it.
This type of skin cancer mostly happens in sun-affected areas, so on your face, on your neck, on your
Yes.
hands, things like that.
Yeah. Then you have what I have, which is squamous, and that is not anything that you want to mess with. It can burrow itself in the lymph nodes in the glands. And in my case, I don't know if I have it anywhere else where it hasn't popped up. One thing to mention, I don't think I mentioned this before, when the doctor did tell me that this was from my younger years, he said, Mike, this is going to be, and we'll explain that I've done the chemo twice now. This is going to be one of many to come. So this isn't just it. And
so you're saying if you see a squamish cancer cell somewhere on your body, it likely means that more are coming.
It's got a lot more cousins coming. Yeah. So I'll explain what I did to be proactive, which was pretty gnarly. But the squamous, it's not as aggressive as melanoma, but it can be deadly if it's on. If you didn't see it or it's not taken care of, it can burrow itself into the lymph nodes and the glands and it potentially kill you.
And how did it present itself on your face?
So I go every 6 months I actually use 2 dermatologists. Sorry, Craig, but I'm not going to go back to the other guy. And the other guy is very good. He actually took something off my leg. It took a big chunk out and it came back as of nothing. But I wanted 2 sets of eyes, Nick, because I'm very tattooed. As you know, my back's all tattooed. And, these guys are busy and whatever. So I said, let me have 2 sets of eyes. So one, just change them out.
Sure.
So I've seen stuff and it's always been, nah, Mike, I think it's nothing, but we'll take it off anyway. And thank God it's always come back. So I had this white little flaky red spot right here on my nose. Ironically, I wear glasses. So, I clean my glasses and the week after I felt this or I saw this one, I felt something over here, Nick, but I thought it was a pimple because, sometimes I don't clean the glass off and it gets into whatever. And then I had seen a spot on my sideburn. I don't know if anybody can see, it's still a little red. That I came in, weird thing about cancers too, bastards, they can kind of come and go.
Weird.
So, yeah. So this spot over here on my sideburn was like a red flaky, but this one actually hurt. But then it would kind of fade away. So I didn't think of anything. So it was time for me to go for my 6 month. And, he's, catching up. Hey, Mike, whatever. And as soon as I showed him, he's like, yeah, we're taking that. That's, I think that's cancer. And those are the words that no one wants to hear. And now I'm 52, Nick. I've been going to the dermatologist religiously. Again, thanks, Mom, since I'm 30. I wasn't doing that every 6 months, but I was going once a year. And then I think at like 40, I was like, let me go every 6 months. I have the insurance or whatever. And he's like, yeah, Mike, I think, and he goes, you got one over here too. And I was like, shit. And he called me back a week later. He's like, yeah, Mike, to quote him, he said, these were up to no good. So he says, come on in. He put me on a 2-week protocol, twice of a chemotherapy cream.
Okay.
Now, when I did it first, Nick, I did it here, and I saw a spot on my sideburn that I showed him that he actually didn't see because my hair was longer.
Yep.
It can only spend so long, And he said, you're going to just take this cream and put it. The first night I did it, Nick, the next day I woke up, dude, I felt like I had like 17 vodkas. I had bad headache, but then it was fine. And they dried these out, and they got a little crusty, and it was over. He said, follow up for 2 months, come back. So I go back, he goes, everything looks great. I said, Doc, let me ask you a question. You're saying that this is going to be one of many to come. I don't want to just keep on rolling the dice because these are squamous cells.
Yeah.
Is there a world where, because I hadn't read a lot at this point, I'm like, is there a world where I do all my face and my neck and my ears and stuff? He goes, yeah, Mike, I would love if you did that. He goes, but a lot of people just don't want to do that. They would just want to do it as it comes. And I was like, all right, I left the office. And I had heard 1 or 2 bad stories of somebody dying, of like something different. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm not rolling the dice, because for whatever reason, Nick, this has been the year of death. Like, I know so many people, they've lost their parents, whatever. I'm like, you know what? He's saying more is going to come. I'm just going to do my
Be
whole,
proactive and just get it all over with.
I'm just going to do it. So I go back to him because he had a recheck after 2 months, and I told him I was going to do it. He goes, all right, Mike, I'm all for it. You're my hero. And I'm saying, because I did the other spots, I was like,
no big deal.
Yeah, well, everybody's so breathy,
If you had a hangover one day and then you were okay.
Yeah. So I get into doing, I'm like, all right, this is it. You were going away. And I'm like, this is my time to shine. I'm going to do it. Neck, ears, face, everything. 2 times a day for 2 weeks. So I had this big tube. It's called Fluorosil. I'm about 5 days into it. I'm looking at the tube, Nick. I'm like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to do treatment for 2 whole weeks. So I call the office, and he's on vacation. I'm saying, oh no. 10 minutes later, he calls me. He's in Aruba. He's like, hey, Mike. I'm like, I thought you were on vacation. He's like, yeah, I'm in Aruba. I'm under a palapa right now. Right? So I'm like, yeah, Doc, I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm doing this thing. And I don't think I have enough. He goes, you're actually doing it? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, you're my hero. He's like, no one wants to do this. And I'm like, that 5 days into it, Nick, I'm like,
Not a big deal.
Like, no big deal. He's like, you're the best, Mike. He goes, look, when we get off the phone, he goes, I'm going to call you in the other tube, make an appointment for 2 months. Nick, I'm doing it day 5, day 6, day 7, day 8, 9, 10. I'm like, why is everybody such a wimp? Well, day 11, brother, I took a nosedive, dude.
In what way?
Oh my God. My face just got beat red. I look like the Tasmanian devil. I started to turn all red here under my eyes, which are probably still a little screwed up. Literally, the skin was just burning off. My lip. Now, I didn't put it on my lip because I was scared to ingest. It's chemotherapy.
Yeah.
I don't know if it dripped down or just the stress. I broke out with blisters all over my lip. My lip started peeling off. My neck got all, my face looked like I had gained like 20 pounds. And it was bad, but then it got really bad like so it was for what, 7, 14? So like day 10, dude, my brain, like it's already damaged to begin with. My brain, dude, for like...
Wait, you said day 11 it started to get bad, and now you're going back a day. So when did it start to get bad?
So it was 4 days before I was going to really... All right. So it was 4 days, like the last 4 days. So
Yeah,
it's 14 days total.
Right.
Twice a day.
And somewhere around the 9th or 10th day, it started to really...
Yeah, but the last 3 or 4 days, cognitively, forget about my skin. That I almost didn't feel my skin anymore. Cognitively, I was in like this... when you fall asleep in the middle of the day and you wake up and you just don't know where you are?
Yeah.
I was like that. I was training people. I had no idea what I was doing. I actually felt like I was going to pass out because you got to think about it. People don't, when they think about their skin, they don't think it's an organ, right? So, and now you have all glands and lymph nodes.
Sure.
I was rubbing it all in. I was putting it on good, and it gets into your blood system and shit, dude. Like for 4 days, I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, I felt like I was depressed. It was bad. I almost couldn't finish. And you know me, I'm no my brother, and I almost couldn't finish. So I'm like looking up. I'm like, could I be feeling depressed and like I'm gonna pass out?
Well, I'm sure there's a ton of side effects on that heavy of a drug.
Well, I didn't. That's why he said you're my hero. I'm like, wow. Because the first time I just did a couple spots. Other than that one headache, I didn't have anything.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. It was torture. I still feel like my brain is a little off.
I'm sure it'll take a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of sauna, trying to sweat it out. I'm drinking a ton of water to try to flush my system out. And I typed into my phone, I said, could I be feeling these feelings? And they said, absolutely, especially if you did a large surface area, i.e. my head and my neck, and especially if it has Fluorosil in it. Well, the cream I had is Fluorosil cream. So it was, I'm happy I did it. I don't know if I'm going to have to do it again because it's funny, when I went back to him for over here, he said it looked good, but when I redid everything, it lit, the term he used, it lit back up. And that's the cool thing about Fluorosil cream. If let's say you had no cancer God willing, you have no cancer, you rub it in, you're still rubbing chemotherapy in your body.
Yeah.
But it won't do anything. It only lights up the spots.
Okay.
I have some pictures, maybe we'll link them in, scare people. But I had spots all over my face. All on the heel was just red. It looked like somebody burnt me alive.
What I'm hearing from you is our viewers want to do anything they can to avoid having to go through this.
Yeah.
Right or wrong.
Yes. And if you have, grew up in the 90s or anything like that, and you
Or
have sun
before.
exposure, you got to get to a dermatologist. And remind me to tell you that one story about one of my clients that I pushed to go to the dermatologist, and it literally saved her life.
Wow.
But, we can get to that a little bit down the road. But yeah, they need to get to a dermatologist at least once a year, especially if they're fair skinned like me.
Yeah.
But even, look, African Americans can get skin cancer and Italians get it, you know what I mean? So
It doesn't matter what the pigmentation of your skin is. This could happen to anyone.
yeah. Yeah, it's
Scary.
it's scary shit, man.
We did that whole thing, and then we still haven't even gotten to melanoma, which is the third type of cancer.
Right. So, and now let me tell this story. That's a good segue, Nick. So I have a client. I'll leave her name out because I'm not training her anymore. So I don't know if she'd be okay me dropping her name, but I'm sure she would be okay with it. But we'll leave it out. So I'm training this girl for years. And she would always wear just a regular crew neck shirt or whatever. So this in particular day, she actually had a LynchFit sweatshirt on and she cut the neck off. So I had her on a leg press and she had this black spot on her trap muscle right here. And I turned around to her and I said, "Hey, what's with this?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, I've had that for a couple of years. I've been meaning to go." I'm like, "A couple of years you're meaning to go?" I'm like, "You need to go to a dermatologist now." So she's like, yeah. So I kept on her. And at the time she had not the greatest health care. So I actually called my client, Carrie Levine, and he got her in with a dermatologist right away. Because the insurance that she had, they were like, "Yeah, how about 4 months from now?" I'm like, "You got to go now. This thing was big."
Yeah.
So anyway, she goes in, do a whole full body check. She hadn't gone to the dermatologist in 8 years or whatever. She goes and I forgot what the name was, Nick. It was, there's another, because there's certain types of moles and stuff. This was not cancerous. And they're like, "Oh, it's just a blah, and we'll cut it off, but we'll give you a full body check when we're here." They found a melanoma in the back of her armpit. And she said it was the size of a skinny, like somebody took the skinny Sharpie pen and went boop. And at the time,
Tiny dot.
yes. And at the time she was single. So no, she can't see back there. And I would say I love my wife, but if my wife had a little dot on the back of her armpit, it's not like I'm going to notice that, but she was single at the time. And because it was in her armpit, you have all lymph nodes there. They had to take out a huge section. They had to pull out her tricep and her lat muscle. And they had said to her, "If your trainer didn't be so annoying and push you to come here for this, that would have got into your lymph nodes and you would have died." So he saved your life. Go give him a big hug. And so me being annoying sometimes can be life-saving. But yeah, and so melanoma is the deadly guy.
It's the most dangerous form of skin cancer.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you have to die from it, but they literally, Nick, they remove part of her muscle. They have to go in and they got to make sure there's no root there and stuff like that.
And usually it's a new mole that you find on your body with an irregular shape to it or an uneven coloring, I believe.
Yeah. Like the borders are it's not nice and round. But it's that one's a killer. I mean, melanoma is a weird thing though, because I've heard people getting them on the bottom of their feet. So you have to be suspicious.
Which again is, I have not looked at the bottom of my foot. I mean, I clean it with soap and, but you're just scrubbing it. You're in the shower. You're not really paying attention. I don't have my glasses on. That's scary.
Right. But that makes you wonder if the sun is the only bad dog in the fight, because
no, I think
how many
probably
people's feet are, I mean, with all the sunburns I've ever gotten, Nick,
never on the bottom of your
my foot. And now I've stepped on hot sand, and burnt my foot, but I've never got a sunburn on my foot. And I think that the only way you're really going to get a sunburn on the bottom of your foot if you're somebody who lays on their stomach a lot. But if you notice, most people
Well, but there are a lot of risk factors. Fair skin is a
Right.
big risk factor. If you already have a lot of moles, that's a big risk factor,
Right.
right? There's a lot of different risk factors that go into it besides just getting a sunburn.
Yeah. And, you know, the guy who found my skin cancer, I've never seen him take one out, but the other gentleman that I was going to, he actually had, like, if you've ever gone to a jeweler where they take out that little glass eye and they really, if they see anything, they look with like special instruments and stuff like that. So the name of the game is sunblock. I'm gonna be the old guy at the beach. No one's ever gonna see a tan Mike Lynch ever again. I got myself a big old umbrella. The bottom of it looks like a spacesuit. No sun can come in. It's cool looking. And it's almost sparked the idea for something new coming, LynchFit kind of thing. But no more tan.
It's not worth it. The tan will make you look good, but at what cost?
Yes.
At what cost?
And it does, and let's like make it a little lighter. It does the sun does age you too. It gives you wrinkles and shit. It dries your skin out. And a tan does look good, especially when you're in shape. But it doesn't last more than a week. And now I got to deal with this for the rest of my life, Nick. Every couple of months, I got to go and hope that he doesn't miss something because of all my, my tattoos, and, there's a lot of black in my tattoos and stuff. So, it's,
Well, one thing that I found online that I'm hoping will really help people is the ABCDE of melanoma. And I think it makes it really easy to remember what the things you should look for are. And the A is the asymmetry. So if you're seeing a mole on your body or that just appeared and it is not symmetrical, if it's asymmetrical, if it's an odd shape, that is a warning sign right there that you need to get that checked.
right.
So I think that's important for people to remember.
As you get older, for anybody young watching this, sometimes if I feel like I don't know if you've had this, I know I have, and he removed something over here and it was nothing. I'm like, did I always have that? And I found myself going back to posts from years ago and like spreading open the post to see if I had that mole. If you say, have I had that? Have I always had that? More than likely,
You probably haven't. Yeah, you probably haven't.
Run to the dermatologist and get it checked out,
The B is the border. You want to look at that border. If it's a jagged border, right? And that's kind of similar to the asymmetrical, but if that border is not smooth on that mole, that's another sign that you're going to want to get that checked out.
Yeah.
So, I think that's important as well.
Yeah.
The C is color, and the color is different variations in color. So if it's not the same color throughout the mole, again, this is another warning sign that this could be a problem mole for you.
Okay.
So that's your A, your B, and your C. The D is diameter, and that's any larger than 6 millimeters, which is essentially the size of like a pencil eraser. I think that's something that everybody knows how big that is. Now, of course, you said earlier that your client's was very small. That's smaller than that 6 millimeter was.
Oh, yeah.
But of course, if you see something that's larger than that, that's a really good sign that you want to get that checked out. Scary, though, that little one in her armpit was so dangerous.
Right. Yeah. Now you can see that I've buzzed all my hair off, and there's a little bit of like mixed thought on the hair, because most of my life I've wore a real short haircut.
But hair can be a protection.
It can be a protection, but for me, I think it's a hindrance, because as you saw in some of the videos and people saw, I would grow my hair. My wife likes when I have longer hair. And I have so many years as a landscaper and years where I just crew cutted my hair that I had a lot of sunburn.
It's hiding.
And now, I can't expect the dermatologist. Knock on wood, I have very thick, dense hair. I can't sit there and make him take an extra half an hour to look through my hair. So I'm scared to grow my hair.
So you're going to bick your head.
So I'm not going to bick it, but I'm pretty much close there now.
Well, the last thing I wanted to say about that was the E of the ABCDE of melanoma is evolving, and that's when these moles are changing. So people do want to look out for moles that are evolving, changing shape, changing size. These are things that you want to get checked out, but just really don't play games. Why play a game with something like this? If you see something and you can't remember if you had it, you can't remember how big it was, you're not sure, just go get it checked out. Go see a doctor. If you don't have a dermatologist, go get one. Ask some friends, somebody you know as a dermatologist they like, and I'm sure they'd be happy to recommend them, and that dermatologist could save your life.
Yeah. I highly recommend Dr. Craig Kornreich. He's a fabulous doctor, and he really takes the time. And like I said, over the years, I've said, Craig, nah, I'll take it off, take it off. He took one look at that, and it was little, Nick.
Yeah.
And he's like, cancer. I was like, what?
Well, I'm sure, that's what you pay them for. That's what they get the big bucks for, right?
Yeah,
They
he
know what
was
to look
like,
for.
yeah, no, this is no good.
Couple things that people can do preventatively, right?
Yep.
Sunscreen,
Yep.
obviously. At least if it's a daily and you're not going outside at 15, but if you're going outside in the sun, it's got to be 30 plus.
Yeah.
Can't be lower than that if
Yep.
you really want to get that protection, right or wrong.
Yeah. And there's two different, for the people that want to really protect themselves, Nick, there's zinc oxide ones, and those are the ones that really, they give you a great amount of protection.
But it looks like you're wearing white paint.
Yes. From what I don't know if they're the same protection, but they do make a sheer one. So that's something to think about. And, just rub it in and just keep on. It does rub in eventually.
Now, also, it's not an all-day thing. You got to reapply every 2 hours if you're out in that sun.
Yeah, especially if you go in the water, because that
Right.
rinses it off. So,
and you have to be putting on the right amount too. A lot of people are not putting on enough sunblock, so they're putting on a very thin layer.
Yep.
And that may not be enough to give them the protection that they think they're getting.
yeah. And we're gonna bring umbrellas in style, Nick, and we got some ideas cooking, but get an umbrella. I have this umbrella that nothing gets, I'm sure some reflection can kind of come underneath it, but it's big. It's 9 feet wide. It's got like little sides. And like I said, the inside looks like a spacesuit. So
Now they
nothing's getting past that.
They also make clothing that is UV protective. So
Okay.
long sleeve clothing, shirts and pants and things like that. And of course, sunglasses can be a real protective, a real protection against, damage to the eyes. But they
Right.
have to be the right sunglasses. They can't just be any dollar store sunglasses that you got, cheapies somewhere. And obviously, sorry to say it, tanning beds.
Oh,
Don't do it. I don't know that there's a safe way to do it.
Yeah. No, I don't think there is either, and unfortunately, thank God I only did it for a year or two, but I did it quite a bit, and I would do it when I would go away on vacation and stuff like that. And I am here to tell everybody that's going to watch this video, the tan is just not worth it. Now I'm going to sweat for the rest of my life, whether I'm missing a cancer or something like that. And this is a lifelong commitment now. My wife, Mrs. Lynch, got a microscope, and it's got like a light on it, and she's going to look in between, because they actually say, Nick, once you've been diagnosed with skin cancer, you should be scanning or having someone scan you every 30 days. How screwed up is that?
Wow.
Just not worth the tan, brother.
Now, some people say that a base tan can help protect you from getting skin cancers. Not true.
Oh, I was gonna say, I didn't know that. Yeah. Even if that was true for me, because we're here to educate people, and that part of the thing about age that is good is the wisdom that comes along with it. Those would, even if you told me, hey, Mike, I researched in base, those aren't dice I'm willing to roll anymore.
No, it's
You know
not.
what I mean?
From what I've read online, and take that with a grain of salt, but having the base tan is like an SPF 3 or 4.
Right.
And that's not getting you anywhere close to where you want to be at that 30 mark.
Because how are you getting the tan anyway? You're getting sun exposure.
That's
so
right.
it doesn't make any sense.
So one thing we mentioned earlier that we did want to talk about was the different types of sunscreens that people can get. And I know we're getting long into this episode, but let's just get into it quickly. There are chemical sunscreens. Is that correct? And then there are also mineral sunscreens, right?
Yeah.
So what are the differences there? Do you know?
So the chemical ones absorb the sun.
Yeah.
And however they work their magic.
Sure.
Where the mineral ones, those are going to be the ones that you talked about before that don't really rub in that well.
Mhm.
And from my understanding is they more reflect the sunlight.
Okay.
So it's really, I think the mineral ones too are better. I think you mentioned this too.
I think they're better for sensitive skin.
Yeah.
The chemical ones, Obviously, you want to make sure you're getting not the cheapest one on the shelf. It's probably not the safest one on the shelf.
Yeah.
But the mineral ones are usually the one you'll see the lifeguard have on their nose, right? They got that white strip on their nose and maybe under their eyes, whatever it is. But one thing people do have to realize about the chemical sunscreens they are absorbed into your bloodstream.
Yeah.
And so that is potentially could be an issue for people. They want to do their own research on that, look for whatever the safest chemical version of sunscreens can be for them, and potentially go for the mineral-based sunscreens instead of the chemical-based sunscreens.
And it is like, you think about it as harmless, but think about what I just described, what happened to me on day 11, let's say, because I was putting this in.
You might not have the problem the day you're doing it.
And I was not putting the equivalent to what I would be with sunblock. So you can imagine how that gets into your skin. And there's been some studies showing that when you rub these creams or sunblocks, they stay in your blood system for 30 days.
Wow.
So now if you're somebody
that can build up.
Yeah. So if you're going into the sun every day on the summer months, or you work in the sun in construction, or you're just a weekender like myself, it's building up in there. So you really got to be mindful that you're not putting, junk in your body to avoid the sun.
Now, some people are using the aerosol spray sunscreens, and you do have to be careful with those that you're not inhaling while you're spraying on your body. So that's a really important part of that as well.
There's some particles that can come off them that are not great for the lungs.
Right. Those aerosols, that's bad.
Yeah.
So, and those can be effective sunscreens, but you just really do have to be careful that it's not blowing back into your face.
Take a deep breath in before you do it.
You might hold your breath. Probably hold your breath when you're spraying that on your body.
I will say that I tend to use the spray ones like on my feet, because when I'm sitting in a chair, it's easy for me to just spray my feet, because I feel like they cook pretty good, my feet. And most people's feet don't get too much sun exposure. So it's kind of like baby skin on your feet.
Mm-hmm. So I think the main takeaway for me of this is everybody should be going for that yearly. Everybody should be using sunscreen to some degree, even if it's like a low SPF moisturizer daily or whatever that happens to be. And you really just have to take this stuff seriously, because this is the #1 cancer that people are being diagnosed with out there. And that's scary.
Yeah. I know how scary it is now, and it's something that, we think, and look, I'm not going to lie, Nick, I'm going to miss it, because because I work indoors all day long. It feels good to get out in that sun and have that sun hit your face and stuff like that. There's something magical about, some people don't like the beach, but a lot of people do. And there's something magical about, the bikinis and the bathing suits and the smell of the suntan lotion and the volleyball, and you get lost there, and you sometimes don't realize how long.
A couple vodka tonics help with that getting lost, I assume. Well, also
tonics for rookies, but so it's the right beach day
can be magical.
Yes, 3 hours can happen quick, and like you said, all you need is 5 burns, and that can really increase your risk of skin cancer. And now this is something, I hope I live a long, healthy life, but this is something I have to deal with. I'm supposed to deal with it every 30 days, but I will be going to the dermatologist probably every 3 months for the rest of my life. So, and hopefully they don't miss anything.
All right. Well, let us know if you have a personal story about any of the types of skin cancer that we talked about that you'd like to share. And if you have any practical advice, leave it in the comment. We'd love to hear it. Everybody has, a different type of lotion or sunscreen that they like, or they've had good success with for sensitive skin. Tell us all about it. We want to hear about it. And do you have anything to leave us with, Mike?
Yeah. Me and Nick are not doctors, and we're definitely not dermatologists, but we thought it was definitely important to share this story with you, because that's our goal with this.
Well, it's a very personal story right now, but it's also really important.
Yeah, to educate people. And, when it comes to health and nutrition and motivation, we got it inside out, but this is an experience that I had. I think we're going to be talking about a different type of cancer that me and you have both had experience with, and our scan, and we're going to do a podcast on that in a couple of weeks. So some of these topics that we talk about are just going to be things that we're experiencing at the time, or a client or a friend. And if we can educate you in any way or motivate you to take that step, it could be life-saving.
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So it's, you know, we couldn't speak on a high level like some of our videos, but look, I'm dealing with it. I figured it was good to share with them.
Definitely.
And maybe if we save one life, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got to look for yourself and look for your loved ones as well. Help keep an eye on the parts of your loved ones' bodies that they can't see every day.
Yeah. All right. So that's it. And like Nick said, if you guys can drop a comment, tell us about your experience, and please share this video with as many people you know and care about. So that's it. That's all I got, bro.
That's all I got too. Thanks. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, guys. See you next time. Please hit the like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you don't miss any content in the future.